You ever have one of those days when the world seems to be testing just how much you can take? That was the kind of day I walked straight into on a quiet, two-lane road outside a postcard town called Willow Ridge. Pretty houses, fresh-cut lawns, folks waving at each other from porches. But underneath it reeked of something sour. I wasn't there to admire the scenery. I was there because the tips on my desk in D.C. kept piling up anonymous letters. Grainy photos, stories about a sheriff's department running the place like their own little fiefdom. And yeah, I'm not the type to send in a team first. I've spent 25 years in the field, and I believe you can't smell the rot unless you stand in it yourself. So I ditched the motorcade, the security detail, all of it. Rented a beat-up old Buick with Virginia plates and pulled on a faded denim jacket. Out there, I wasn't Director Morgan Hale of the FBI. I was Anna Price, a woman just passing through. The road I chose wasn't an accident. Locals called it the toll booth stretch of Sheriff Roy Cutter's favorite hunting ground for out-of-towners. Sure enough, blue and red lights lit up behind me as the sun dipped low and my rear-view mirror filled with a relic of a Crown Vic. Out stepped Cutter himself, built like a linebacker, gone to seedskin, leathered by the sun, eyes that didn't see people so much as assess their usefulness. His deputy, a wiry kid named Travis Dent, hovered by the passenger door, fidgeting like he wished he was anywhere else. Cutter leaned on my window close enough for me to smell the coffee on his breath. "Evening, ma'am. In a real hurry, are we?" Was I speeding, Sheriff? My hand stayed on the wheel, old habit. He gave a dry chuckle. "Let's just say you were driving with purpose, and you got yourself a busted tail light. I knew damn well both were fine. I can check it," I offered. "I'll bet you can." He sneered, then asked for license and registration. The name on them was a neat little fiction burner car, Shell Company fake address. He flipped them back without looking too hard. Virginia plates. Long way from home. "What's your business in my county?" "Just passing through," I said. "People passing through stick to the highway." "You're on my road," he said, real slow like the word. My tasted good. Then he straightened up. "Step out of the car." Now part of me wanted to de-escalate, but the whole reason I was here was to see just how far he'd go when someone didn't grovel. I let a little steel into my voice. "For a tail light. That seems excessive, don't you think? That's all it took?" His face darkened like a storm rolling in. He yanked the door open, grip like a vice on my arm, and hauled me onto the gravel shoulder. Cold air bit at my face, but the real chill came from knowing the tips I'd read hadn't exaggerated, they'd been tame. "Hands on the roof," he barked. I complied, the rough metal biting into my palms. Travis shifted behind him uneasy, but didn't move to stop it. Cutter's pat-down was slow, invasive, designed to humiliate. He found nothing but my keys in a thin wallet, then slapped the cuffs on tight enough to send pain shooting up my arms. "Sheriff." "They're too tight," I said, voice trembling just enough. "They're supposed to be." He grinned. Then before I could breathe, his palm came across my face so hard my head snapped sideways. White light exploded behind my eyes and copper flooded my mouth. For a split second, I wanted to drop the act and put him on the ground. But I saw Travis's face, wide-eyed, shocked, and frozen. That cowardice was as much a part of this sickness as Cutter's violence. They shoved me into the back of the patrol car, and I watched through the glass as Travis slid into my Buick to drive it to impound. We headed for the station, if you could call it that. Dingy walls, buzzing fluorescent lights, and a dispatcher who glanced at my swelling face, then back to her crossword like she hadn't seen a thing. Cutter dumped me in a tiny interrogation room, all beige stains and a one-way mirror. He sat backwards on a chair, trying to play the tough cop movie role. "We can do this easy or hard, Anna. You are on a drug route acting suspicious. Judge will believe me every time. Unless, of course, you start cooperating." I let my voice crack. "I'm just a librarian from Richmond. My husband left me. I was driving to clear my head." He smirked, leaned in. "You'll have meth in your car before the night's over. I can make that happen." That was my opening. I threw out a line. I have a cousin, works over at Hollow Creek Quarry. Maybe he can help me." It was a dead quarry tied to the mere exact place the tips said cash payoffs were dropped. For half a second, Cutter's mask slipped. His eyes flicked to Travis, who'd gone pale. Bingo. The air in that room turned sharper. Cutter paced, then stopped inches from me. "You see that mirror? I can make the camera stop working. Nobody'll hear you. Nobody'll see." That was my signal. I let tears stream down my face, whispered please. "I won't say a word to anyone in Washington." He laughed, like it was the dumbest thing he'd heard. "Washington's a million miles away, sweetheart. They don't care about you." Right then, the low hum started. You could feel it in your bones before you could hear it. Thump, thump, growing louder, rattling the table. Then tires screeched outside a dozen at once. Cutter went to the door, irritation turning to confusion just in time for the front of the station to burst open. They weren't local cops. Black tactical gear M4s moving like shadows. No shouting, just the soft click of safeties and the sweep of red dots finding their marks. Cutter froze. Travis's hands shot up. The dispatcher dove under her desk. The team leader stepped past Cutter like he didn't exist, came straight to me. "Director Hale," he said, voice sharp with respect. "Perimeter secure. Are you injured?" The word director hit Cutter like a punch to the gut. His face drained of color. I stood and an agent unlocked the cuffs, the steel dropping to the floor with a satisfying clink. I walked right up to him, close enough for him to see the bruise blooming on my cheek. "Sheriff, you wanted to teach me some respect. Let's begin the lesson." Within minutes, the station was a federal command post. Files bagged computers, seized portable antennas sprouting in the parking lot. I crossed to the duty roster and drew a thick line through his name, then through Travis's. Travis was brought to me trembling. "Director." "I didn't." "You stood there." I cut him off. "You watched him hit an unarmed woman. You held the door for him. You'll be my star witness, Travis. Your badge is gone, but you'll spend the next year telling me every crime you saw. Consider that mercy." By dawn, we'd served warrants on the mayor, a judge, and yes, the quarry. Cutter was led out in cuffs, looking smaller without his swagger. He stopped beside me, voice a rasp. "Why? Why'd you do this?" I met his eyes. "Because you thought no one was watching." He was shoved into a van. The people of Willow Ridge would read the headlines in the days to come. Corruption charges, racketeering, civil rights violations. The department rebuilt from scratch. Slowly, maybe the trust would come back. The bruise on my face took weeks to fade. I never spoke about it in interviews. I didn't need to. It reminded me every day that the real danger isn't always the monsters who act, but the ones who watch and do nothing. So tell me, what would you have done if you were in Travis's shoes? Kept your head down, or stepped in? Because out here the line between a coward and a hero is thinner than you think.